This is Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio.
Welcome back to Soccer 101. I'm Moon, and that is Rocchio. Okay, so just a little schedule for this episode. It is Wednesday. It is match day. We are recording and releasing this. We have a little bit to talk about as far as the Vancouver-St. Louis match that happened over the weekend. We'll talk about that match day. And then Rocchio put together a whole slew of post-game audio from players responding to some things, maybe specifically talking to 101 ESPN or just the post-match presser. I haven't heard any of this stuff, so I'm going to hear it for the first time with you and just get some natural reaction. But and then after that, we'll obviously talk about a little pregame stuff about the Seattle match that's happening tonight, late night tonight, since it is on the West Coast.
Oh, I love these late-night matches, Moon.
I know you do. I don't, you do. And then, of course, on the 20th this weekend, we play Kansas City, Sporting KC, again at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City. So a couple away matches, which will start with the home match that just happened at City Park with Vancouver. It was a 4-1 loss. Another 4-1 loss. Let's just go down post-game notes and then tear this thing apart. Thoresen scored his second MLS goal of the season on a nice little rebound from a shot that he had. His other goal this season was against Vancouver on June 29th, so he can only score against the Whitecaps. Only finish against the Whitecaps. The loss ended City SC's two-match home unbeaten streak, and the fact that they even have to write that is just absurd. But that's, I guess, the third of four post-game notes that City would like you to know.
Feather in the cap, I guess.
What a crock! I'm not even going to go into it as far as the rest of the notes, because the note is you suck. That was a terrible, terrible, terrible match to watch. Even if you only saw 10 minutes of it, it was so bad, man. It was so bad. Some of the facts as far as the 4 goals, they actually scored 5, but 1 was called back. Brian White and Ryan Gauld. They connected on a couple goals there. Brian White had a 9th-minute goal. Brian White had a 44th-minute goal. And this is what I'm going to say about it. Have you ever watched a soccer game between a college that you've never heard of against a college that you have heard of? That's what it looked like. That's what I thought I was watching. It didn't even look MLS quality. And I'm not trying to take away from the Whitecaps because, Gauld and White are on a tear right now. They're doing well. But they look like an actual team, not a great team, just an actual team, like a college that you've heard of, versus a community college of just players that are hoping to get their $600 math class paid for. It was just that bad. That disjointed. The defense is a freaking joke, and I'll say it, man. Parker's not the guy. Parker's not good. Reed is good, but obviously young, so you can see his athleticism. You can see that he's got a lot to give, but he's making some youthful mistakes out there, and it seems like nobody's accountable for anything, dude. And Rocchio, did you watch the defense operate?
Oh my God, yeah. It was. That's all I was after the Rapids match. That's all I was watching, Moon. I didn't get to show you, and I haven't posted them yet because the Vancouver game was, as we said last week, borrowing from the Rapids broadcaster, shambolic defending. It was the exact same level of defending as the Rapids game, except it was take every bit of positivity that might have jumped out in the Rapids game, and there was some positivity despite it being horrible. Every shred of positivity from the Rapids game, get rid of that, and all you have left is the bad and the terrible, and that's what you had this past weekend. It was the worst defending we've ever seen from City in their year and a half plus as a team in MLS, and I can't imagine it being worse than that. That was horrendous.
It was bad, and it was bad for everybody. It was almost like, God, what did I say last week? That I would love to be an MLS team coming up against St. Louis because it's just so easy. It's just so easy. It's so easy on the fly to go, oh, look at this. This defense has never been taught what offsides is, so they don't know how to even do an offsides trap. We had Parker keeping somebody on by 6 yards that never should have been on, and then it created a goal-scoring opportunity for 2 of their players. We had Blom on that 9th-minute goal do a no-look pass, not even in the line of where Parker could or should have been. It was right to their attacker, and then everybody's just It's panic mode. It's panic mode, dude. And individuals don't seem to know where they're supposed to be. And that goes across the whole field, not just the defense. Like I said, Blom made the first mistake. And I hate to be negative here, man, but it's like we're watching
It's
players.
not being negative. It's being honest right now, man. I mean, that's the thing. It's if somebody's being like, you're just being negative right now, it's just, you're not being negative. This is just honestly right now, they're not playing well, and that's not me saying that. That's John Hackworth saying that in the post game. He said that we're not a very good team right now.
Dude, it's not that they're not playing well.
Coach.
It's that they're not playing like professionals. I will go as far as saying that. It's not that in the beginning of the season they were not playing well. Now, dude, if I saw 2 more matches like this, I would believe any conspiracy theory that somebody's getting paid to throw games. I mean, it's that bad. Dude, I'm telling you.
Well, again,
I'm not there yet, but
you
like,
always
what?
have to remember, the thing you always got to remember when your team is playing horribly and gets absolutely hammered by other clubs is the other people on the other side of the ball are also getting paid money to play the sport very well. And so if you ever let off the gas at any point during a game, you will lose. That's the fact of the matter. And right now you see a group of guys who are admitting that they are not playing together and the collective foot is coming off the gas multiple times during a game. And that's what happens when when you do that. You lose games 4-1 in embarrassing fashion.
They're almost going in expecting to lose. And what I saw across the board
At this point.
was player to player, with the exception of Leuven and Berkey and maybe – honestly, man, in the last 2 matches, I'm trying to think. Nobody stood out that looks like they're bleeding or I don't want to say understanding, but like living for the position.
Can I ask a question?
I know we're. Yeah, real quick, let me finish the thought. I know we're scattering some people and we're asking people to play in different positions or maybe even some people in unnatural positions. But, like, for the most part, these are all extremely, extremely talented players that have had enough minutes out on the field, enough coaching years, hearing, what's expected of them in certain positions. And when you're tasked with that right back role or that striker role or that center mid role, like you should it should exude from you that the everything that's required to live that position. And I'm almost seeing this confusion on everyone's movements, pace, face, that they're not there for the position. It's like they're just told to go play soccer. You know what I mean? Like, here's where you're going to start, but just go play a game. Play a game.
2 things. That's the negative way to talk about that. The positive way to talk about that is having a very versatile and total football-esque mindset of guys can play in all positions. You have a shifting rotation that can cover all spots, which can create a very useful, efficient, beautiful kind of soccer. And so I understand that's the negative side is saying, oh, well, it just looks like every guy is just told out there, well, go play football. Don't worry about positions. And I understand why that's a problem. But I guess I want to get back to my original question from your statement is going to be, what does it look like? What does that look like to you when you say that they need to exude that? What does that look like for you? Because I'm just trying to figure out the difference between a guy getting beat on the backline run because he got caught ball watching for a play and isn't as fast as the attacker versus a guy getting beat on a backline run because he doesn't have that fire. My problem is I don't know when I'm watching a game the difference between the backline run versus a guy without the fire and a guy who's just getting beat by a better player in that moment.
Well, there's a lot of parts to your questions. The first one, I think, is if you're going to do the total football thing, you just have to have more skill than we have.
And that's that's very fair.
Yeah, I don't think this team has the chops in any way to put a total football
I'm not
team
saying you need to have a total football team, but is it fair for a coach to have as one of their principles of the game an ideal of a versatile team that can cover every spot for their teammate so that you can do more things like press and go out of position because you know a guy is going to be able to cover your spot. I think just having that as a principle isn't a ridiculous concept for a coach to implement into their team as a base principle.
Are you saying a base principle before you have a squad? Like that's the kind of football you want to play?
Yeah, I'm saying, or just as one of the 6 or 7 different principles that build up your entire system.
Regardless if that's how last year was supposed to start, or this year was, last year was supposed to end, and this year was supposed to start. We don't have that, and any coach knows that. Like that's not what we have. We got rid of some of our hustlers in the midfield. We got rid of the Strouds. We got rid of Joe Keeney. We got rid of Jackson. We got rid of a lot of the hustlers. Honestly, if you're talking about like a total football thing, not that Stroud and Jackson had like the skills to do anything, but like those were kind of malleable hustlers that you maybe could have in this conversation. We literally got rid of some of the probably key elements to that type of football. So
they brought in 4 hustlers. I mean, or 5. Reed, Totlin, Durkin, Klein, Kojima. They're all hustlers. They're all guys who, and by the way, those are 5 guys who. Well, we talk about them right now. They're 5 guys who have shown the ability to cover wide parts of the field and do it from multiple different positions. And so I don't think that's a completely. Again, I'm not saying it has to be like one of the more core tenets, but I think we've seen it from the get-go. And I think when you talk about a pressing team, the idea of if I press this guy high up on the left, you'll cover me in my zone, and therefore because you cover me in my zone, 3 other players have to shift slightly to then cover that zone. And that zone and that zone and that zone. Essentially playing the game on a string of where every movement connects to every other movement. I don't think that idea is as ridiculous because I'm just criticizing the idea of if you go out there and you don't have set positions, you're playing just like a crazy, oh my God, just do whatever you want kind of game. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm not saying that's not a reasonable criticism. I'm just saying is that there are 2 sides to the coin, and you have to be aware of both of them. It can be that it's too chaotic, but I'm just saying is we have to give the room that the idea is everything's on a string, and that helps you kind of control the chaos.
I totally get what you're saying, but that even that style of play, even though it seems so loose and it seems in theory that you're putting out skills that are going to be versatile and kind of fly all over the place and play the game on a string, you still have to have some sort of baseline of absolute understanding. And I guess for lack of a better term, I'll say muscle memory.
I like that. You need a baseline.
You need a baseline of muscle memory. Even if it is flowy and there's triangles that are kind of circulating all around the field, you have to have an understanding that if that is happening over here, everyone knows what's happening off of the ball. It's a muscle memory sort of thing. Whether it's just a 4-4-2 and everybody's playing very, 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 very strict man-to-man position or zone positioning or something like that. Either way, there has to be baselines set. And if it's a baseline that we're playing position ball or a baseline that we're playing loose ball, like you're saying with the hustlers, there's still a muscle memory that has to be built. And you're talking about old school Barcelona ball. And old school Barcelona ball didn't just happen. It happened with the skill level and the individuals and that team working in that muscle memory of the all-around ball, the open sort of beautiful football game. The Brazilian, Yoga Bonita thing, it may look as loose and crazy as possible, but you have to understand the absolute methods of muscle memory that even goes into that wild controlled chaos. And there's no place for it when you're losing this badly and looking this badly. So even if that's the ultimate goal, I'd say we're a number of years away from it. And what we should do, and I'm not the coach here, but what we should do is just get back to the basics. When you lose the locker room and you lose all the momentum you have on the field and all of this, let's play stupid ball. And guess what? This is a great league to do such an experiment because it has horrible defending in 85% of the matches. We're talking about the MLS is an exciting, growing, and improving league. But the last part to improve is the defense. So if this team was just able to defend. And I swear, dude, I don't know what the team thought. I don't know if they were like, we're going to bring in these midfielders and we need more goal scorers and all that. But they've totally ignored the back line as far as what they need to. And it was almost like, oh, we've got the best keeper in the league, or the highest paid one. We'll just hope that he saves the day enough times.
How much more? How many other acquisitions? I mean, they brought in Nielsen last year, who, when healthy, I think maybe he hasn't reached the heights that Lutz kind of pushed him up towards before we'd seen him play. But I would argue he's above average whenever he does play. They brought in Nielsen, and their big move this past winter was to upgrade the right back spot, and they definitely did that with Totland. I mean, did you wanted another big time center back? 'Cause that's pretty much been your through.
I want a center back.
Going over the last two episodes.
I want a designated player center back, and I've wanted it since midseason last. Totland is awesome, but like Totland, they're not thinking about Totland to be the defense's savior or pillar. They were looking for a guy who could go forward.
Nielsen's supposed to be that guy.
Right. They were looking for Totland to do. Again, multiple jobs.
Yeah, Totland has to do the everything duty that the fullbacks have to do.
They've been talking about everybody doing multiple jobs.
Line.
I understand that, but what I'm telling you is we're improving. You're polishing a turd. We've got to stop polishing a turd. You gotta blast. We have to blast the turd off of the concrete, man. Like this is not good enough. This is not okay, and we're never gonna get out of the bottom of the freaking West if we're making joker plays like this in the backfield. And dude,
what do you mean joker plays?
The whole just go back and watch the 10-minute highlights.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
When
you said joker plays, I thought you were referring to like a lineup decision as a joker play. No. The defense has been terrible, but I mean, my point is that Nielsen hasn't been healthy, and again, that's
Great.
you can knock the front office for getting a guy who's injury prone, which is ridiculous in my opinion, but nonetheless, it's been true. It's hard to criticize a front office for that in my opinion, but nonetheless, it's been problematic that Nielsen hasn't been healthy, but you've also been racked with other injuries. Josh Jarro's got a concussion. Kyle Hebert, again, went off to play for Canada, and I'm very happy for him, but he didn't get a minute with Canada, and that was unfortunate for City, and maybe he's back in action right off the bat for City because he's well-rested, or maybe it's more of a form issue because he hasn't played competitive in a couple weeks. We'll see what happens tonight.
His form on the bench is better than every single person that's played in the last 8 weeks without him on the field, dude. I mean, put Hebert in. Put Hebert in now. Let's just announce the roster. Hebert plus 10.
There we go. Before we get into the lineup for tonight's game against Vancouver, I do want to round back to the Colorado game and go back to it really quickly because some of the things that we're touching on with the mindset and the issues going on with the team were broached in a couple of different ways after the 4-1 loss. So I'm just going to kick it right now over to some audio of Moon. So here's the post-game audio. This is Moon's first time hearing some of this. So we're going to listen to John Hackworth, Edward Lowen, and Chris Durkin, and this is some of the most pertinent audio from that postgame, and here we are from the postgame audio following the 4-1 loss to the Rapids this past weekend.
But at the end of the day, Vancouver's a team who plays a certain way, and we have to be able to at least, at a minimum, collectively come together as a group and work towards that, and that didn't happen for us.
When you see those same things happening defensively, what does that say?
It says that we're not a very good team right now, quite candidly. And so, we gotta, I don't want to say too many cliches here. All right. We didn't play well. That's not acceptable in this building, and we have to go fix it. And the only way we can get better is by fixing one thing at a time. And we thought we had fixed those through the week. We felt really positive about it. I even felt positive at halftime that despite giving up that goal late, we could get back into this game. And for about 10 minutes in the second half, it looked like we could find the equalizer and then put it on our terms. That didn't happen for us. And, then the other goals come, and those are not acceptable, and especially the reactions of the group.
Very candid from John Hackworth. And two of the big things that jumped out to me, obviously, is him saying, quite candidly, we're not a very good team, and credit to Tom Timmerman from STL Today and the Post-Dispatch on that question. But also the other one that jumped out to me, Moon, is just him talking about the need to be a collective team in their defending, and anytime you talk about the need to do it, what you're saying in the white space is that's exactly what we didn't do in this past game. And so using a word like collective, that right off the rip, when we talk about going into that post-game press conference after the game, hearing that from Coach Hack right off the rip was very indicative, and was certainly it certainly set the groundwork for what we would hear the rest of the post-game presser.
Yeah, I feel bad for Hackworth. I don't know the guy, but this is typically an opportunity, even if a team is losing, which clearly is the majority of the case when they fire a coach. But this is an opportunity for an interim coach to step up and really, if not make a name for himself as a future head coach, but make a name for yourself as far as what you may mean to the organization. There's 1,000 ways, because now there's all the lights are on you, and I feel bad for the guy because, like we somewhat predicted before when Carnell was let go, or just before, it seemed like he had lost the locker room. And it really, really looks like the locker room is completely lost. And I feel bad for a guy that's stepping into that role. And, dude, it made me start thinking, is everybody with an American accent in the coaching world a nice guy? You know what I mean? Or like, are they too nice? Are they too not, I feel like we need some scary.
I feel like the United States Federation would say that Jesse Marsh isn't too nice, but yeah, I guess you're right.
And I'm not looking for a mean guy. I'm just looking for do we need somebody that just comes in and demands respect? Because I feel like Hackworth is talking right there, and he seems not scared, man, but not like confident that he's going to make a difference. You know what I mean? That's what. In my first impression of hearing a couple pressers is like, oh no. This is like a good coach and a good guy, and again, I'm not looking for some threatening guy that's going to go in and start screaming and cursing at people. But like, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
as per usual, I'm 80% there, but I'm going to need you to help me get the other 20%.
I just mean, like, is this going to help the locker room? Like a guy that comes out and is like, we're just not good enough.
I think there's I think that level of honesty can always be useful. I think. Listen, a coach can't be what he isn't, and there's no 100% right way to approach any personal situation in the locker room. Just because you think that a bombastic, fiery, light these guys up, screaming them until there's an indentation of them in the wall behind them kind of coach. But there's no guarantee that style would work just as much as a quieter coach with a kind of a disappointment level of you guys blew it and that kind of thing could work as well. We don't know. I mean, I don't know these guys' locker room reactions well enough, because guys, with the way guys react to the press or the way guys react to the game out on the field is completely different to how they react in the locker room. So, for all we know, Hack's more passive way he works with the guys, and the fact that he has a rapport with these guys going back 2 or 3 years with some of them, it completely changes how the reaction is going to be around them. And I think him just having this deadpan honesty could actually be very useful right now, because something tells me, based on what we're going to hear from Lowen and Durkin and what we've heard from Berkey, feel like the fires and the people with the voices aren't being silent inside of the room.
Yeah, it's not going to make it worse. And Rocc, you get me wrong. I'm not saying that somebody needs to go in there and scream fire everywhere. It may be some crazy, like, quiet dad sort of vibe.
Can you imagine if Hackworth started yelling after how passive? Like, I bet he's kind of like that first grade teacher, man. Yeah. He's cool, but you finally piss him off enough, and oh, good dear Lord, that's a terrifying person. I could see Hack having that in him.
Yeah, it's not a particular style that I'm looking for. It's just it's a dominance. It's a respect. It's an authority. It's a leadership. It's an inspiring thing that I think that we've been missing.
The guy's coached a national team before. I mean, he's been in soccer his entire life. He's a second generation coach in American soccer. I mean, the guy.
Oh, tight. Yeah, let's bring up American soccer right now and all that they've accomplished in U.S. soccer. Let's not have that on the top of the resume right now.
Doesn't mean the guy's a hack, all right?
I never said that, dude. I never said anything bad. I said I feel bad for the guy.
He has respect in this game because he's been in this game and he's put the years in.
I understand.
He has that.
I understand that, but you know what? A 23-year-old soccer player doesn't know or care about who deserves respect because of their resume.
But they all
this
know
is not.
him.
This is not.
But they all respect him because they've been playing with him for over. They've been playing for him at City 2, or they were playing with him when City was developing the squad in 2022.
Saying, and I'm not arguing any of them. I'm just saying, in an instance like this, when you are when the room is lost, people aren't playing well together. Maybe they don't even like each other. Who knows what's going on? All I'm saying is, in a moment like this, you need the inspirer, whether that's the fire and brimstone guy
get
or
that.
that.
My point is, we have
I'm not saying that he's not. Just real quick. I don't know if I said that.
We have no way of
I'm hoping that
knowing
he is.
who that is. Yeah, we have no way of knowing who that is and whether or not they are or aren't in the locker room. And if they lose on tonight, and if they lose on Saturday against Kansas City, that doesn't mean that person isn't in the locker room. It might just mean, again, that they're not a good enough team right now. And that's my thing, is like I just care about focusing what's happening on the field. And like
I get it, but
that's all I care about.
The reason I'm talking about it, man, is because like we're wondering what's going to happen. Who are they going to hire? Are they going to hire somebody? Is Hackworth going to finish the season? You know, like what is happening there? So that's why I keep bringing it up. Because
is that something people are really wondering about? Are people really are really?
Why wouldn't we?
Because do you know who the candidates are? Do you have? I have no idea. And I'm sorry. Maybe that people are going to call me lazy, and this is going to bother some listeners. I'm not going to start chumming the waters to try to figure out which developmental coach for Dallas FC has gone on a bunch of head coaching interviews the last year and might be a good option for St. Louis City. That's not something I'm going to get involved. I'm not going to get involved with is the coaching search for St. Louis City. When Lutz mentions a name, I'll be happy to do the due diligence then. But I'm surprised St. Louis City fans are actually getting caught up in the coaching search at this point, because I don't care who the coach is at this point, because clearly the coach doesn't matter as much as what happens on the field with the players. So all I care about at this point is what happens on the field with the players on this roster, or the players that are going to be on this roster in the next month.
Oh, man. Okay. I wholeheartedly disagree. I think the coach matters so much more than we ever give it credit. And I think that Lutz and everybody else would have definitely been thinking and talking about this nonstop, even days, maybe weeks before Carnell was fired, much less now.
I'm sure that. I'm happy they're doing the due diligence. I'm saying is that I haven't for a moment since Carnell was fired and they announced Hackworth as the interim, I have not spent one moment wondering really deeply about who's going to be the next SCL City coach, mainly because the style of the team isn't going to change. The roster isn't going to change. So, like, we're obviously going to get small schematic changes, but those things are going to be so long in the wait of actually seeing the effect of them on the field that isn't material right now to me in any way, shape, or form. That at this point, that's 2025 Matt's problem to worry about, and he's got a lot of things to worry about, and I'm going to put that on his plate.
Man, that surprises me. You being such a deep diver guy, I thought you'd be like,
I got too much to deep dive on right now. I got too much to deep dive on, Moon. I'm trying to figure out how they can't play a basic level of MLS defending right now. I can't be thinking about head coach resumes.
Bro, the defense is such a shallow pool. You don't have to dive deep.
All right, let's get into more from Saturday, because I do think the fact that there is something going on in the locker room, and again, it's hard to figure out with what we have access to, but we're getting very honest conversations right now from the players. So here's Edu Lowen in the postgame on Saturday. I want Moon to hear this audio as well.
It was horrible. It was a horrible performance. Bad body language. Just as we spoke about, no belief, no desire, no hunger to win. We defended horrible. The goals we defended is just very bad. That's the straight truth. We definitely need to have a sit down with the guys, and we need to talk about that. A performance like this today is just not gonna work out, and it's just unacceptable. What we did today is unacceptable. And as I said in Colorado, okay, like we shouldn't have lost the game 4-1. That was a very high result, but there was at least a desire there. But today was just an unacceptable performance. And I would say now we have 2 games coming up, and we have to get points. We have to be able to deal with the pressure to get at least 3 points, and then we have the Leagues Cup coming up, which is a good thing. We have a couple of guys coming in, and then we need to figure this out, and we need to have belief in ourselves again that we are able to turn this around. Yeah, so I think this is then for us kind of a reset, and we have to use that.
Did we just become best friends?
How
I
about that
freaking
from
love this
Edu,
guy.
right? How about
He's
that from
my
Edu?
favorite.
Isn't he the
He's
best?
my favorite, dude. He
Took you
really
long
is.
enough.
You're right. You're right. And listen, man, I was criticizing. I think what I should have criticized back in the, if you were with us in the very beginning of the first season of this show, dude, Leuven's my guy. Screw everybody else.
But here's the thing: you do not, in major American professional sports, you do not hear about the players-only meeting before it happens, and that's essentially what Edward Leuven was telling us is going to happen, which is a players-only meeting. And that's we hear about those after it happens, and usually does happen within a 2 or 3 week window before, after, or during a coach getting fired. And this is right inside a 2-week window of Bradley Carnell being fired. So it sounds like a players-only meeting was in the works. I don't know if it actually happened or not, but I feel like the honesty there from Edward Leuven, just obviously about the embarrassment of the game, but just clearly that we need to sit down, we need to have a conversation. Something is not connecting in the locker room, and that's very clear also when you hear from Chris Durkin. Here's Chris Durkin following the 4-1 loss to the Rapids on Saturday night.
I think it has to get fixed in the locker room. I think, you could see on the pitch right now, it's a fragmented group. It's not a group that's together. And, it's frustrating to me, especially, we've talked about it. It's a sellout crowd. And to walk into the tunnel with a performance like that is frustrating and embarrassing for the fans. So we need to do everything possible. Words are cheap right now. I think action is the most important. So we can talk all we want, but it's the action that counts.
So what was Hackworth was talking about, you having talking to the team and really, expressing his displeasure with it. I mean, how do you react? How does the team react to when kind of getting called out on that?
Yeah, and rightly so. We should be called out. This is a performance-based job, and we're not performing well. I think I spoke about it earlier. Pressure is important in our industry. You either rise to the top or you crumble. And right now, we've got to figure out a way to rise back to the top. I look back only 2 months ago, and we were a team that was performing well. Yeah, we were drawing a lot of results, but still really in the games. And yeah, it's frustrating. I know we can talk about injuries and we can talk about decisions and all this stuff, but it's what we can control. You start to not win over a period of time, you start to have question marks and pointing fingers, and that's the worst thing in the sport is pointing fingers, talking behind people's backs, all of that. It's like I said, it's a group of 11 out there, and then another group of 5 other guys that come onto the field, 4 or 5. So we all have to find a way to sing together again.
Dude, clear indications of crap talking going on in the locker room. That was pretty insightful little whoops. I said a lot about our locker room. Whoa. I tell you what, dude.
Yeah, I feel like you don't mention how detrimental finger pointing and talking behind people's backs are unless you've seen that happen.
Unless it's been happening for some time and it's happening to a pretty intense
I could be
degree.
wrong, but why mention it if it's not something that you're dealing with? That's my thing.
You don't talk about that unless it's on your mind.
I mean, a clear split. I mean, this isn't. It's not even kind of reading between the lines anymore. It's out in the open. It's pretty well explained by the City players. One other entry into this little piece of information about some of the questions was Kyle Hebert, who obviously has not been with the team the last few weeks because he's been with Team Canada. He joined the Fastlane on 101 ESPN on Monday, and he was asked about the state of the team. Here was his quote: "I would say last year it felt like we were all going in the same direction. All the guys. The whole club was going in the same direction with a unified mind. There's a lot going on. There's injuries. There's a bunch of other stuff going on too. I feel like throughout this year we lost a little bit of that, kind of all being on that team-first mindset. And that's been something that I know Coach Carnell and Coach Hack were trying to get back to that. The we before the me, the team before the I. And I think if we can do that, that off-the-field culture and mindset will shift onto the field and make a big difference.
Yeah, I think that's all correct. And at the same time, there needs to be a little bit of personal accountability and personal integrity. And he said something at the end there while he was talking. The whole time he was talking, I thought, okay, from a coaching perspective, I would, if this were my club, I would do a back to the basics sort of thing and get everybody just really, really on board with clean passes. We're doing this, we're doing that. This is the strategy. Here's where you need to be. Here's what happens if this happens. Just very, very soccer 101 basics. We would get back to the basics from a coaching perspective. And aside from that, I would take some other personality or an outside psychologist or something, and I'd come in and I'd have them talk like a third grader to everybody and sit them down and go, okay, I want to write.
So mad if I was them.
No, I'd go, okay, I want to ask you in as respectful a way as I can, what are your motivations here? What do you want to do? I would just take a personal assessment for everybody, and they don't even need to turn it in or any that kind of stuff. Just ask everybody the question, like, what are your goals for the next 6 months, for the next 12 months, and for the next 10 years? Give me an answer for those three things. Because, dude, how do you hate that? All the athletes that I've talked about.
Oh no, I'm saying I'd love it for them. I personally would be very angry if I had to do this.
Well, then you just start running the stats, dude. Because, like, first of all, there's never been a time where every single step, even the direction that you're facing, is literally being recorded on their little, bra things and their Nike tags.
Yep,
and their, like,
you're absolutely right.
No kidding, dude. Like every eye movement you make is going to go in a stat sheet, and it's going to be read. And whether it's a we before me or if it's just a I scenario, what it is, do you want to be employed? Are you here to try to win an MLS Cup? Are you trying to here to make $1 million a year? Are you here because you want to get your career over in England? Like, are you here because you want to play in the World Cup? Why are you here? And how do you think putting these types of stats together, these types of just horrible games, horrible matches, bad passes, frustrated body language, poor performances recorded in every which way, how is that going to get you to $1 million a year? How is that going to get you to an MLS Cup? How's it going to get you to England? How's it going to get you to the World Cup? How's it going to get you 10 years of a good salary so you can invest in real estate? How's it going to get you to the goal you just wrote down? And I know that sounds simple, and maybe it even sounds demeaning in some way, but I'm serious. Like, do some sort of exercise where you're really trying to have the player reassess, wait a second, I'm freaking playing professional soccer. Do I want to continue this? How long do I want to do it? And how am I going to get to where I want to be? Because if they're not playing for we, at least we can get them to play for me. And anybody that's been in this game long enough knows that you're only going to look so good if you're not working well as a team. So it'll all come back to the we mentality. It'll all come back to that. And again, Rocchio, I'm talking like a frustrated dad right now.
I like it.
So I'm sure.
I like it.
So I'm sure I'm infantile. Infantilizing. Thank you. I'm sure I'm infantilizing these guys, and I don't mean to. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But seriously, I would find some sort of exercise that was applicable.
I love the way you did it.
To get these guys to reassess.
You brought it into a very reasonable way, because you do have to still have the coaching kind of tone to it, but I love the way you said it. We have stats on everything. These aren't the stats that are going to make or aren't going to lead you to your goals. So I love what you're getting at. It's fantastic. Let's transition to putting that on the field tonight as they face off against Seattle in a late game. And one of the stats I'm going to throw out to you, Moon, is, man, they have been bad on the road, obviously. 5 losses and 5 ties and 10 games away from CITYPARK. Only Dallas FC is also winless away from their home, and it's only happened 12 times in MLS history. But here's the thing, and this is from Tom Timmerman in STL Today. They're going to need a win they're going to start needing to win on the road, because they have 11 games left to go, including tonight, and 7 of those 11 games are on the road. So they're going to have to change things up. They're going to have to win on the road. Can they get one in Seattle? Well, Seattle has won 5 straight. They've won 6 of their last 7. They haven't dropped a They haven't dropped all their points since a June 5th match over a month and a half ago against Sporting Kansas City. The one thing I'm going to say, Moon, is I'm with you. Go simpler. So here's my thought process, Moon. I've already sent you my prediction for the starting 11 for tonight's game. So my prediction to you is going to be, we talked about it earlier, Kyle Hebert's going to be in the back line with Tim Parker. I say you give Jaden Reed another start. I understand that Totland is a little bit run out. So give a Watts another start on the right side. Then we're going to change up. We're going to simplify things. We're going to go with a 4-1-4-1 with a three-man midfield of Lowen, Durkin, and Klein, because both Lowen and Klein have proven to be better when they play centrally. So we're going to play both of them centrally, and then we're going to put Vasilev and Kojima as our outside middies. I know that Kojima's also a guy who everyone says he's better centrally, but he's been really good on the right side. So listen, let's play a little bit more conservative. Let's create some width from the midfield instead of relying on all the width coming from the fullbacks. And then let's get some balls inside to Thor, playing up there as our center forward. I understand this is a little bit more conservative than we'd like to see, but I'm with you, Moon. Simplify things a little bit. And if you can get out of Seattle with a 1-0 win, you'd be the happiest team in MLS soccer right now.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to win this match, but I do like your starting 11. I have nothing against Tim Parker. I like the guy, but I think he's been so poor as of late as a leading center back that I would almost want to sit him. I know that
Who are you playing instead?
I guess I would move Totland over there because I would not put Watts there. I'd put Watts on the right. I know that's not a great idea, but none of this is a great situation.
You're going to put Totland in at center back?
I know that sounds silly, but yeah, I just think he's a smarter player.
The problem is it's a short week, Moon. You're coming off a Saturday
you're right.
game.
You're right. It is a Wednesday
You have
match,
another Saturday game, so you can't play Totland and Watts because I just don't think guys are in the red.
That's a great point, but here's the thing: if I'm going to rest Totland, I'm going to do it against KC on the weekend.
That's fair. I thought maybe that you'd be looking at Yarrow Nielsen maybe. Yeah, you're probably right. I was trying to play Totland in trying to get 3 points in Sporting Kansas City because I think there's a better chance. Is Nielsen healthy? There's a better chance. He's questionable for tonight, so I don't think he's not healthy for a full 90. So I think he will be healthy for Sporting Kansas City on Saturday. I think there's a better chance to get all three against Sporting KC than there is against Seattle. I know people hate the defeatist mindset, but I'm just coming away with the fact that 3 points is better than 2 from these 2 games. And to do that, you got to win one of them. You have a better chance to win against Sporting Kansas City. So therefore, you keep Tots until Sporting Kansas City on Saturday because you need 3 points. And that's my thought process.
I understand that. So, like you said, Seattle's coming off of a huge win streak, 5 wins and a 6 unbeaten streak. They're doing really well. They've turned their whole season around. 9-7-7. I think they're 6th in the league, maybe 7th.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in the West. And KC is also coming off a win. I'm pretty sure they beat Dallas last weekend. So yikes. And if we come out this week with a point, I'm so disappointed to say that I would be happy with a point after 2 matches.
Trust me, with their away game, with their current form right now, walking away with a point away is usually a good thing. It would be an incredible thing. But I'm saying build the lineups to win against Sporting Kansas City. But let's hope for some goals anyway.
Yeah, what a difference a year makes. All right, that's it for this episode of Soccer 101. Matt Rocchio, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Moon.
For being here, dude, and handling my infantilizing of our beloved players. I apologize.
That was fantastic. I like it. I like Coach and Father Moon. Both of them are 2 of my favorite moons.
Yeah, you know what?
Rockstar Moon is also a very good moon that we don't get to talk to enough, but I like all 3 of them very much.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I wear many hats. I'm not going to scream goal because we've been doing that all season and it just hasn't worked, so I'm going to scream defend!